What's up, guys, and welcome to the Shifty Crab campaign mode. I am your host and the best in the world, Adam Berry. I am the 8-time champion. 8 times.
Mhm.
They've all
Grapes
sat
by the
here.
skin of your teeth, for sure.
Doesn't matter how you win, it's that you win. Like, if you want to
any
look at
cost.
small margins and at any cost and all this blah, 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 that just makes you a bad loser. But you wouldn't know how to be a good winner because you've never won, Vince. You've never won. See, at least Terry has won one, the first one, the warm up, where we're just stretching it off, blowing off those cobwebs.
You were sweating it today. Vince
You
was
were,
Vince almost
absolutely.
had this. Vince almost had this, and then the last moments reclaimed it
Almost
back.
isn't good enough, my friend. And the only reason I was sweating today is because it has been a hot day in the UK today. It has been a lovely, warm day.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's the only reason I've been sweating. Not over this. Like, I knew as soon as I said my suggestion, I was going to win. Not worried at all. Anyway, that was last week where we were arguing over what is the greatest DLC in gaming of all times. Your options were Mass Effect. What would yours? Sorry, Vince, off the top of my head. The
Lair of the Shadow Broker, man.
Lair of the Shadow Broker, that's one. You had GTA's, that's wrong. Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare. And then
Super
you
forgettable
had...
franchise. Super
What
forgettable.
was that?
Super forgettable franchise.
Yeah, sure. You should know about that one. And Witcher 3, Blood and Wine. Witcher 3 did win. And it was, but it was a close battle. It was a close battle.
Well, not quite for me. Again, let me down again. I thought the John Marston fans were going to come out in full force, and yet again, disappointed. Finding new ways to be disappointed every week with this in people.
Yeah. We got to get new fans. We really do.
Yeah.
But clearly, ours don't know shit.
Let's change
Bad
new
taste.
fans just to
Clearly.
more fans. Let's not switch them out. Let's just bring them in. And and I obviously chose Witcher 3, Blood and Wine, which won last week. But that is in the past, and I'm not a man of the past. I'm a man of the future and right now. And we are going to be arguing this week. It was my turn to pick, and I have chosen the best console exclusives of all times. Which game is the best?
Exclusive. Let's be clear.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
There you go.
Singular.
Only one choice.
Singular.
Well, we shall see. I'm going to take the glasses off out of respect for you guys, for your debate, so I can look at you and see the fear in your eyes. I believe that the first person to go this week is Mr. Vince Haley. You are leading the pack this week. So
Of course.
the floor, as always, is yours.
Great. We may as well just go ahead and get the winner out of the way. Because obviously, you can't talk exclusives without talking about Sony. The top tier of exclusives. But what's really number one? The Last of Us. Above and beyond anything any of the developer has created. Highly praised, highly awarded, deservedly so, because it's fantastic. The Last of Us is the benchmark for perfection when it comes to games in general. No other console has a game like The Last of Us. No other studio has ever made a game like The Last of Us. From the amazing characters to the voice cast that brings them to life. Troy Baker absolutely nails it in The Last of Us. Ashley Johnson absolutely nails it in The Last of Us. It's poetry in motion, to put it simply. The Last of Us is a perfect exclusive because there's nothing like it. Xbox doesn't have anything like it. Nintendo sure as hell doesn't have anything like The Last of Us. Storytelling at its finest. It's a beautiful game with some of the most memorable moments in gaming. You can't tell me that the farmhouse scene from The Last of Us does not move you to tears every time. I go and I watch that scene every now and then, and it still hits just as hard as it always does. That's what you want from a game. That's what you want from an exclusive. You want something powerful. You want something moving. You want something that lets you know I made the right decision in purchasing this game and this console. Because yeah, Xbox has decent exclusives. Nintendo obviously has Mario, Zelda, whatever. That doesn't make it great. But if you had a PlayStation, if you had a PlayStation 3, The Last of Us made you appreciate the PlayStation 3. It made you want that console. And to that point, my uncle was a diehard Xbox fan. I told him about The Last of Us. He bought a PS3 just to play The Last of Us, beat it in 2 days, then downloaded the DLC. That's what The Last of Us does. You have to own a PlayStation to play The Last of Us. If you didn't play The Last of Us, you're missing out. Who hasn't played The Last of Us yet?
Last 30 seconds then.
Last 30 seconds. It defined a generation. It defined what gaming should be. It's The Last of Us. Best exclusive. Hands down.
Is that the end?
That's the end. Sure.
Okay, very good choice. Very good choice. Terry, over to you for any.
I mean, look, we're arguing exclusives, like the best console exclusives. So there, any choices of ours are going to be top tier. It was so hard to choose one. You could go through many angles of this, but yeah, Last of Us, it's a great game. One of PlayStation's best exclusive. I for me personally, when I'm thinking of like the very, very, very best, I'm trying to think of games that really were system sellers, really gave you a reason. And yeah, The Last of Us does give you a reason to buy a PS3. I don't think it was a system seller. I'm sure there were some people that saw it and thought, yeah, that's great. But I don't think everyone was kind of itching to get a PlayStation 3. I don't think it kind of really like broke out there outside of the core gamers, for people to go out and go and buy it because I've got to play this game. It was great. I mean, yeah, I do feel that it wasn't revolutionary in what it done. I think it just kind of perfected everything that had come before in terms of storytelling and voice acting and things like that. I think that Uncharted and games that even came before Uncharted were already kind of paving the way for that. And you could argue that Last of Us kind of tightened that up a little bit even more so. So yeah, I mean, it's a good shout. It's a good shout, and obviously it's quite a popular shout. We know a lot of people love The Last of Us, and it is known as one of Sony's best exclusives. But I think when I get to my choice, I think that The Last of Us is standing on the shoulders of giants. So that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. This is a difficult one for me. I love The Last of Us. I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and falsely slag off The Last of Us just to win a debate. I feel like I can win the debate without that. The what I will say about The Last of Us, and there is video evidence of me saying this on our shows. I prefer The Last of Us Part 2. Because I think it's The Last of Us honed in on the gameplay, which Last of Us, the story is incredible. The voice acting incredible. The tonality, the speed, the pacing incredible. The gameplay is actually some of the weakest parts of The Last of Us. I'm not saying it's bad. It's the weaker part of the full package. Last of Us Part 2 had all of those story beats. The story is divisive to some people, but they made the gameplay sharper. They added a few elements to it, and I think it was a more enjoyable experience to play. So,
interesting.
And The Last of Us, for me, be counted as the greatest gaming console exclusive of all times, when the second one, for me, is better. No.
But here's the thing. You wouldn't have what the second one does without the first. You don't have that emotional connection to the characters without the first.
True.
You don't get those great story beats from part 2 without having them set in part 1.
True. I totally agree with that. But that's which is the better game. for me is the second one. So I can take. I could have picked number 2, which I haven't. I could have picked number 2 and said, "This is why I think this," and it would be all the reasons from the first game that make the second game so much better. But that is still the point. The second game for me is better. So, and it's purely on that. And I like a long game, and I think that game's a little bit too short for me. Is the only other thing that I will say, but that's nitpicking. It's still an incredible game, and in my top 10 games of all times. So, solid choice, Vince, but not the best choice. So, we're now going to go over to Terry.
Mm-hmm.
The floor is yours, and your 3 minutes start now.
So, Vince, you mentioned about games. The only reason that Last of Us 2 is good because of what came before. And I would argue that the only reason that The Last of Us and games of that like are good are because of some of the games that came before. Mainly this game, which is another solid choice. I'm going with Metal Gear Solid. Released on the PlayStation 1 in 1998. This game completely smashed down barriers into what games could be. It pretty much invented the modern stealth genre. This was a system seller. This is what if you didn't own a PlayStation by this point, then if you saw this game, you wanted a PlayStation because there was nothing that had been seen like this before. The N64, the Sega Saturn, whatever anyone else was playing, even the PC, nothing looked like this. This pushed storytelling games to a whole new stratosphere. I mean, Hideo Kojima, absolute visionary. He was doing stuff before this on the MSX, but this was his work, which showed what not only what he could do, what his imagination could do, but what games could be going forward. And still to this day with games like The Last of Us and all these huge games, which, let's face it, most games are cut from the same cloth from Metal Gear Solid. These film-like pieces, very cinematic, even from the opening credits, which you'll remember when you arrive on Shadow Moses, and the introduction of the cast. And I mean, let's not forget the actual cast. I mean, you got an amazing array of characters: Revolver Ocelot, Liquid Snake, Psycho Mantis, Master Miller, Sniper Wolf, Vulcan Raven, Decoy Octopus, and let's not forget, most of all, Solid Snake, one of the best protagonists in all of the games. Yeah, as I said, amazing cutscenes due to like a really, really high budget, way high budget than what you ever had before with games. It was hugely popular, sold over 7 million copies. Even if you didn't play the game, you knew of the game, or you had experienced it in some way. Over 12 million people had played the demo of the game when it came out. And by the way, these sales numbers for back in the day, in the 90s and the PS1 days, were huge. Introduced one of gaming's the best boss fights, Psycho Mantis. We all remember that Psycho Mantis fight with the putting the controller down and it starts moving and vibrating. Him reading your console to tell you what games you like and what games you're playing blew our minds. Yeah, and just I don't know. I just feel like this game, without this game, you wouldn't have any of these games that are on the list today.
30 seconds left.
I just feel like Metal Gear Solid is something you associate with PlayStation. The original Metal Gear Solid, so you associate with PlayStation 1. It's something that you bought a PlayStation 4. It still stands up with the best games ever made. And I think it solidifies its place, as the best console exclusive of all time. There you go.
I'll go first on this one, and then we'll pass it over to you, Vince.
Right.
Terry, I want you to answer this question honestly.
Yeah, go for it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Which is the best Metal Gear Solid game of all of them?
That my honest opinion is it's too hard for me to choose between them all. I think they're all unique in their own ways, and
I Solid 3, but continue.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But you ask any fan, and he'll have a different answer.
But I don't think you can nail on and say Metal Gear Solid well, let's say 1, even though it's not the first Metal Gear Solid.
I would say Metal Gear Solid 1 has the best story, has the best cast of characters, and has the best potential to be, if it was remade, to actually go top of the list again. Like, be a standout.
I don't know if I think Metal Gear Solid 3 story for me is perfect. But you're right. People have different opinions on the stories and the games.
And also being
like
adapted into a film right now. So,
well, that might not help it.
Hmm.
If that goes bad, that's not great. But I think it's the same. For me, it's the same argument as Vince. For me, it's not the best in the series. So it's very hard to put it as the best console exclusive. I think there's other great options. But don't get me wrong. As I've said before, I love Metal Gear Solid. And I love Metal Gear Solid 1. It is, for me, the pinnacle of the PlayStation 1 in the sense of I remember playing the demo that came on like demo disc something or other. And I remember playing the opening to that game and it being incredible. And that made me fall in love with Metal Gear Solid.
That demo is better than most games.
Yeah, no, I agree. But there's a lot of games better than Metal Gear Solid that are exclusives. And I think we're going to hopefully hear that from me. But Vince, what do you think?
So, I've never played Metal Gear Solid. I've never played any Metal Gear Solid game.
Oh my God,
it
Vince.
Just no.
Can't drop bombs like this on the show.
It never piqued my interest.
But you play a little chainsaw shit.
Yeah, because that's actually fun.
Vince, you're missing out.
You're missing out
on a great franchise.
I don't know. It seems too out there for me.
Well,
that's always kind of turned me off. Like it's James Bond mixed with, I guess, mech stuff.
And anime.
From what I've seen in
really.
Anime. Like, don't get me wrong. I love me some anime. See my manga collection.
Let
me here.
If you like anime, then you are missing out on Metal Gear Solid. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Metal Gear Solid 5 is probably one of the best stealth games of all time. I think it was Terry that said that.
It is. Metal Gear Solid 5 is the best stealth game ever made.
Unfortunately, it's unfinished, but
it is unfinished. But it's the best stealth. Purely gameplay wise, best stealth game. Yeah.
But kind of really have no dog in the fight because I've never played Metal Gear Solid. I've never played any Metal Gear Solid game.
Okay.
So I can't really talk too much shit about it other than if I haven't played it and I own a PlayStation. I've owned a PlayStation twice, at least, and recently went back and bought a few PlayStation games that I missed out on, like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, all that. But never picked up Metal Gear Solid because, I don't know, it just never struck a chord with me.
Interesting. Well, there's not really much more to say to that one, is there?
Do yourself a favor, Vince. You got a Vita, haven't you?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, buy a Vita. Do yourself a favor, buy a Vita before the store.
Very quickly
before the store closes. Download the PS1 classic Metal Gear Solid, and then get the collection of 2 and 3, and just enjoy that goodness.
I guess I should go then. Has someone got a timer for me? Can someone bring up a timer?
Yeah, I'll do it. And you ready?
Sure, why not?
Go.
Okay, so we have heard Metal Gear Solid. We have heard whatever the other game was, Last of Us. Both great games, but they weren't the best games even on their console. There was other games that were better. But on mine, there is no doubt that it's the best game on the console. And it's one of the best games ever made. It is The Legend of Zelda, The Breath of the Wild. This game is a tour de force for what... Imagine the Nintendo Switch to have a game this big and this powerful on it. Like, it is a masterclass in open world design, the way it is paced, the way that you can do your own thing. It's a total new step for the Zelda franchise. They took a big risk, but they've been learning from all of their other games. All you've done is pick the first game in your franchise and say, well, it's the best because it's first. And that's not how it works. The Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game because they've learned from everything else and made the best game. You want to talk about something that made the Switch what it is. People bought the Switch to play Breath of the Wild. Like, that is what it did. That is why it was there. It was originally going to be on the Wii U, and they said, no, we will. This is too good for the Wii U because the Wii U was a piece of trash, and we'll do it for the Switch. And they upgraded everything and moved it to the Switch. Breath of the Wild Part 2 is one of the most highly anticipated games of all times. You want to talk about your great games and how we base them and stuff like that. For me, like I like a game that is value for money, and we know Nintendo games are usually quite expensive. But if you look at the run times for Metal Gear Solid, the average runtime for completion is 11 and a half hours. PlayStation 1 game, it's not going to be as big, obviously, unless it's on multiple discs like Final Fantasy. The Last of Us, 15 to 20 hours. To do the main story in Zelda Breath of the Wild, 50 hours. To complete the game, the average is 190 hours to be a completionist in that game. It is an incredible sized game for the Switch. You want to talk about scores? Let's bring in some scores. Last of Us, one of the greatest scored games of all time. IGN 10, Eurogamer 10, GameSpot 10. Oh no, sorry, wait, that's Breath of the Wild. Like Polygon 10, Metacritic 97, Metal Gear Solid, IGN 9.8, Metacritic 94, Eurogamer 8 out of 10, GameSpot 8.5 out of 10. There was no Polygon for Metal Gear Solid, it wasn't around. The Last of Us, IGN 10, Eurogamer 10, GameSpot 8. Polygon 7.5, Metacritic 95. They're not even in the same league as the Breath of the Wild. It is a 97 on Metacritic. It's in the top 5 games ever done on Metacritic for the critical score. And that is important when we look at this. It is important for the technical achievement, more so than not, that this is on the motherfucking Switch. And it's beating games that are on consoles like the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3.
Time is up.
You could have given me 30 seconds to do my closing statement like I did for you guys. That's a low fucking blow.
I didn't
No.
know.
You hear it here first, people. They want to cheat to win.
That scared the crap out of me. I'll be honest, because I didn't know what that was. Because I just put it on my phone. I'll give you.
No, I don't need it.
No, go on. I'll give you 20 seconds. 20 seconds just to finish it. Just to put a little cherry on top. Go on, 20 seconds. Go. Closing statement.
You want to talk about a game that made a console? Then it's this game. The other 2 consoles would have done perfectly well without their games. This made the Switch. It is a tour de force and it's still a great game today. So yeah, that's why.
Okay. Vince, I'll let you, as always, I'll let you do the honors.
Okay. Let me bury him. Because you mentioned Breath of the Wild is a Switch seller. You know what else is a Switch seller? Mario Kart 8, Super Mario World.
Go look at the numbers sold and the scores.
Well, doesn't mean people are just constantly playing Breath of the Wild. I picked up Breath of the Wild twice and put it down both times because it's not that great. The weapon durability is
Do we trust
garbage.
you? You haven't played Metal Gear Solid. You haven't played Metal Gear Solid, so your opinion is quite low so far. So, but continue.
Well, I mean, the game has its problems from the get-go because weapon durability for sure. That's a big turnoff for a game where weapons are kind of your survivability rate in that game. Cooking, it's okay, like cool. You can find stuff on the ground. That's the same mechanic everyone else is using. Crafting.
They started doing the cooking mechanic again. Like they made it what it is, and now it's being copied. But continue.
Well, is it actually good though? It's actually fun to, grind as much as you hate grinding, finding little apples and stuff to, cook and then heal yourself. No, that's just boring.
No, I have to go make clothes to survive. I like survival games.
But you hate grinding. You hate going to areas. Oh, and the shrines, let me tell you, that was a slog sometimes.
Surprised you got to one, like with barely playing it.
Yeah, I really kind of didn't care that much about it. A much better game for the Switch would have been Fire Emblem. Let's be honest, because that is actually great. Breath of the Wild has so many problems, but people love it because it's a Zelda game. That's it. If it was any other name, look at Immortals Phoenix Rising or Genshin Impact. It's basically stripped down Breath of the Wild, and they're not as good. You can't take the same gameplay mechanics and put them into another game and for it to be good. The only reason it's good is because it's got Legend of Zelda in the title.
That's
the only thing going for the game.
I don't think that's true at all. Like the game is a full package. Like you can look at if you looked at one review, you might get a biased outcome of that. But I've covered the broad spectrum of the top 5 4 in the case of Metal Gear Solid because Polygon wasn't around. The top 5 reviews, like companies, like the most famous ones, like, and they all agree that the Breath of the Wild is better than all of the others. On none of these do your games beat the score of mine on any of them. I can't be the only one that thinks that.
Right.
And I'm not. So go on,
First of
Terry.
all, you're getting too hung up on numbers. All right, forget numbers. I think numbers should be banned from all reviews. To be honest, so there you go. You mentioned about not even being in the best, like with Metal Gear Solid, not being the best game in its own franchise. You're throwing stones in glass houses, my friend. All right, because yeah, it might be getting the higher critic scores, but you go to any Zelda, like a lot of Zelda fans, I tell you, a lot of them will not choose Breath of the Wild. There's a lot of them that probably will, but there's a lot of them that won't. A lot of them, again, you could similar to Metal Gear Solid, you could choose any title from that series. A lot of people say Ocarina of Time. A lot of people will say A Link to the Past.
Skyward Sword.
Not Skyward Sword.
Everyone's going to say Skyward Sword.
No one's going to say Skyward Sword. But a lot of people would say Wind Waker. It's very spread out. It's very spread out. And a 100-hour game, personally, for me, that's going to put me off right now. I mean, I don't.
For a completionist. It's a 50-hour for the story.
I do love the Zelda games. I do love the Zelda games, and I've played a few of them. I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet because I haven't got a Switch, but something like that's not going to make me want to jump into it. Like, I'm going to want to get into an experience that I can finish in 11 hours, 15 hours, like just get a complete, because I don't have unlimited time. I don't have 100 hours to spend to a game. Great. Yeah, if you can do that. But again, I could see how that would put a lot of Zelda fans off that are used to just having this compact story. But yeah, I feel like, I do feel, I agree with Vince in that. And again, this is coming from a Zelda fan. I do feel like not just Zelda, but any Nintendo game or franchise does seem to get away with a lot of things because they're Nintendo, and they just rely on the same formulas, which it does. It's all the same stuff, just kind of put in a new package. Okay, yeah, it's very neatly done and it's very tidy, but again, it is all the stuff that's been done before with Zelda. And I don't really feel like people will buy a Switch for Breath of the Wild, but really, what competition is it really going up against, like, on the Switch? There's a decent library of games on the Switch, but how many AAA games have you got? Mario Odyssey,
Smash Bros.
Yeah, but
Mario Kart. They would be up there though. They're the big franchises.
Whereas you talk about, like, on the PlayStation had some top tier AAA games, and Metal Gear Solid is generally considered the best game on the PS1. And this is coming from, my favorite game is Final Fantasy VII, but even myself, I know really subjectively Metal Gear Solid is the best game on that system. But yeah, I just feel like it's a good game. Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. These are all top tier games, and I could have chose any of them, but Breath of the Wild, don't think is it.
My final point that I will make on this is just something that you said, Terry, is that you wouldn't really want to sink 50 hours into Breath of the Wild. You think that's quite too long. Just remind us how long you've put into Final Fantasy, whatever number that you're playing currently.
That's different.
How much are you grinding in that game?
That's different. So, that's an MMO. That's different.
How long? How many hours have you put into it? Roughly.
Don't know.
This time around, because you've already done it. You've already done a lot of it before. So what I'm saying is you can pick and find these little berries to nibble on of your arguments, but they all fall down.
That is an MMO. That is not a contained story where I'm trying to finish it. That's an endless thing. It doesn't end. It's just saying. It's not the same.
Okay. We've all said our pieces to all three of them. We can all agree that all three of these are great games.
They're all great.
And as always,
great. Never played the other two.
Okay, you can't agree, but we can agree that Vince needs to step his game up. You're on a gaming channel, and
Yeah.
2 massive games.
I do. I mean, I do. How are you like for stealth games though? In general, Vince, do you like any stealth games?
Oh, I love like Splinter Cell. What was the other one I
You
played?
would love.
I mean, if you like
those are
Splinter
great.
Cell and you like anime,
Mm.
man, I just think you got
Metal Gear Solid 2 would be right up your street for one. Like, what was it? Sons of Liberty.
I'm just hoping
Okay.
that Blue Point. I know we're going off subject here, but I just hope that Blue Point do announce that they're doing a remake, because then you can actually jump on there.
Fingers crossed.
I would. I actually would.
Anyway, I'm gonna do the outro here. So stop talking about other games. All right. Okay, guys. This is it. We have put our pieces down. We've put it all on the table. We've poured our hearts out into these decisions, and now it's up to you to decide. So all you need to do is head over to Twitter at @CrabShifty and vote in the poll that will be open for 24 hours. Monday to Tuesday. We record this on a Tuesday, and tell us who you think is the rightful winner of this. Is it going to be Vince with The Last of Us Part 1? Is it going to be Terry with Metal Gear Solid 1? Or is it going to be myself with Zelda Breath of the Wild 1?
Part 57.
Part 1. So, yeah, it's up to you guys. Also, comment down below your answers as well, and we can add them to it. And also, if you have any suggestions of what we should be debating, throw them to us. Tweet us and say, I want to see you guys debate this. It would be great, and we'll give you a shout out when we do it. And yeah, we'll do them. But as always, it's been a pleasure to be joined by the best beard in the business, Mr. Vince Haley.
Always a pleasure. Always fun.
Never a chore. And also to be joined by the Retro King, the Pun Master General himself, Mr. Terry Jeffs. Thanks, Terry.
Don't forget, people, vote Snake. Dun,
dun, dun, dun. And as always, stay shifty.